The print statement is the first thing that you learn in most programming languages. It's an example of a function, which is one of our basic building blocks of programming. So functions, where do they come from? Well, with Python, it has a bunch of built-in functions as part of the program. The print statement is the first one that you learn, but there are a lot of them. You can also import modules, which are like libraries full of functions. For example, there is a math library, math module, that has all sorts of special math functions, and you can write them yourself, which we'll learn to do. So every function has a function name and a space for arguments. That space is parentheses, and then whatever is between them is the arguments, sometimes called variables, that you send to the function. And each function can have 0 arguments to a pre-specified number, and the print statement doesn't really have much of a limit. You can just do a bunch of things as long as you separate them by commas. So this is the probably most used function, would be print. So print arguments can have any number of arguments separated by commas, and even if you have an empty parentheses, that is valid and will give you a blank line. Anything between quotes, either single or double quotes, is considered to be a string, just a bunch of characters strung together. Or you can accept numbers without quotes, and that would be considered to be a numeric literal. We can also use escape characters. /n for a new line, /t for a tab, and then the slash is just letting whatever is next to it print in the case of the single quote, the double quote, or the slash. So when you have multiple arguments, you can separate them by commas. And notice that hello world has a comma in it, but since it's between the quotes, it doesn't count as that. It's just part of the string. So it has 2 arguments, hello world and how are you. The second line has no arguments, and the third line has 2 arguments. The second argument includes a escape sequence /n, which will give you a new line. Everything is positional, which means that those arguments are passed in order, so they'll print in the order that you send them. So here we have a blank line, then we have a special keyword argument. We're printing we're not going to take it, which ends with a space. By default, every print statement ends with a hidden new line symbol. When we use the end keyword argument, we're replacing that new line symbol with something else. In this case, we're replacing it with a space. And so when we run this, we're going to get we're not going to take it space. No, we're not going to take it. And that overrides that default new line sequence. You can also use the separator keyword, which is SEP, and here we're using a hyphen. And in this case, we're again replacing that new line symbol, so they all appear on the same line. And so we get "don't go breaking my heart" with a hyphen between each of the words. So every place that the print statement has a comma, we're going to get that hyphen.